Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from Outkick from June 1st. And this just tickled my funny bone in a special way. And I've mentioned in other videos that I live in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, born and raised. And so you hear a lot of news about Chicago, of course, being where I'm from. And so I see this article that says, failed leader Lori Lightfoot to teach Harvard class about leadership after losing re-election. And again, it tickled my fancy, so I was just like, okay. So you want to talk about probably, at this point, the single worst mayor in the history of Chicago who blamed any sort of criticism on her or her policies about the fact that she happened to have a higher melanin count than most people in this country. That was the problem. It wasn't because she sucked at her job, which was a legit thing. She was just not good. So let's see what the article has to say here from Outkick, and suddenly I have the hiccup, so pardon me. It says Lori Lightfoot is the first Chicago mayor in 40 years to lose re-election. So right off the bat, this is someone that gets taught, to teach a class in leadership. Because I guess when you're on the left, you just fail upwards. It's just a thing that they do. So she will now assume a teaching role at the Menschel Senior Leadership Fellow at that sentence doesn't make sense. So she will now assume a teaching role at Menschel Senior Leadership Fellow at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Teaching role as a Menschel Senior Leadership Fellow. Anyway, nitpicking. So ironically, Lightfoot will teach a course titled Health Policy and Leadership, which she failed on the health policy too, because remember during COVID, and I'm sure it's going to go into this, she decided she was going to go get a haircut because she was more important to her than the peons there, so she was allowed to do it, but you were not. So it says, while there are worse choices to educate students about leadership, we can't think of one offhand. It says, nonetheless, Michelle A. Williams, Dean of Faculty at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, considers Lightfoot an impressive addition. She's not, but let's see what this dean has to say. It says, I'm delighted to welcome Mayor Lightfoot to Harvard Chan School as a Menschel Senior Leadership Fellow. See, it says as there. Anyway, so as mayor, she showed strong leadership in advocating for health, equity, and there's the problems, the equity, essentially communism, and dignity for every resident of Chicago. From her declaration of structural racism as a public health crisis, it is not, and they just that's a thing that they like to say, that it's a thing, and then when anybody goes, well, where is it? They're just like, well, you just have to believe us that it's a thing that's there. Okay. So this isn't a thing. So this person is delusional. It says, so let me start the sentence over. So as mayor, she showed strong leadership in advocating for health, equity, and dignity for every resident of Chicago. From her declaration of structural racism as a public health crisis to her innovative initiative to bring mental health services to libraries and shelters. And of course, she led the city through the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is a gaslighting is all hell statement. I know I interrupted it a couple of times just a minute ago, but equity, that just means communism, and equity is not what they make it out to be, so no, you're wrong. And structural racism, as I said, that's not an actual thing that exists. Again, it's one of those things that's used to say, like, hey, the reason we're having our problems isn't because of the choices we made, it's because there's some amorphous thing that nobody can actually define that just happens to be there, that we can't actually provide any examples of at all. So we're just going to blame this thing that I can't prove is actually a thing. Okay. And I don't know about the mental health services to libraries and shelters. Okay. I mean, that just seems kind of a weird thing to say. What mental health services are going to libraries and shelters? I mean, shelters seems like that would need it. Libraries? Like what? Okay. Who in a library needs a freaking mental health service? Anyway. It says, of course, she led the city through a COVID-19 pandemic. That sentence should be more like she was there when it hit and just was a presence. And that was it, because she did not lead the city through the COVID-19 pandemic at all. So we hope her students agree with what she preaches. If not, she just might call them racist or sexist. That's, after all, how she handled her election defeat earlier this year. She said, I'm a black woman in America. Of course I lost Lightfoot, said Rel. Never mind the fact that the person who won was a black man. But whatever, it must be racism. We switched out a black person for a black person. So it's definitely racism that did it. Okay, whatever, Lori. She says, I'm a black woman, she repeated. Let's not forget, certain folks, frankly, don't support us in leadership roles, except for all the people that voted for the black guy. But anyway, so blaming her skin color and gender combinations was wise, especially compared to citing the actual reason Chicago voted her out. such as an explosion of crime under her leadership? Yep. As well as a disastrous COVID response and a population exodus? Yep. She also showed a precarious eye for the truth. And she wrote here in an embedded tweet, says, my thoughts and prayers with Jussie Smollett. Oh, we're bringing him up, the guy who lied about what happened to him. So everyone deserves to live safely as their true, authentic self in this city. As mayor, I will make sure that, regardless of the victim's stature, hate crime incidents and complaints are fully investigated. Yeah, so they did a full investigation. It turns out he's a piece of shit and lied about it. But anyway, says, it was the racism and sexism that led to her political downfall. Says, anyway, she is about to teach her Harvard students about leadership, in quotes, as though if students prefer someone else, they're in luck. Former CNN host Brian Stelter also teaches at Harvard. Jesus Christ. Wow, Harvard, you guys need to do better. Brian Stelter is quite literally the definition of fake news. So, yeah, anyway, it says, as a schmuck former mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio. Oh, wow. There should be a period at the end of that sentence, but my God. So Harvard's basically going, let's just take the worst possible people we can think of and give them positions here. And say, like, we're doing good. No, you're not. As Thomas Sowell once said, the road to hell is paved with Ivy League degrees. God, he did say that. Well, he's been prescient about a lot, and he's certainly prescient about that. Yeah. What do you guys think about this? I mean, especially for the people who... Sorry, I'm hitting the wrong keys here on my keyboard. This article's going nuts. So what do you guys think about Lori Lightfoot getting to teach at Harvard, along with the other people that were just mentioned, Bill de Blasio and whoever the other person was, whose name I already forgot. Let me just scroll back up past all the ads. Who was that? Keep going. I'm here. Brian Stelter. Yeah, how could I forget Potato? Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.